Good morning, kids. I hope you had a good week. I hope you got out to play at least a couple of days. There were a couple of sunny days this week. Last week, we talked about St. Paul and how he stayed connected to his churches that he started, corresponding through letters, and how we spoke about the letter he wrote to the church in Corinth about love. I hope you had a chance to write to someone you wanted to stay connected to. Today, we're going to speak about St. Peter. The last time we spoke about St. Peter was in January. Back then, we spoke about how at the time Jesus was in the area of Caesarea Philippi, and he was teaching. And as was his custom, once in a while he would go off on his own to pray. But his disciples found him, and when they did, he asked them a question. Do you remember what the question was? No? Well, I'll remind you. The question was, who do the people think I am? Do you remember their answer? That's right. Some answered, John the Baptist. Others answered, Elijah or Jeremiah or one of the other prophets. And then Jesus asked them, who do you think I am? Do you remember what Peter answered? No? Think hard. That's okay. Peter said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, blessed are you, Simon, son of John, for flesh and blood did not reveal this. Only my Father in heaven revealed this to you. I tell you, you are the rock that I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. That's what we spoke about in January. So now we're going to talk about the time after Jesus' resurrection. Tell me, are any of you interested in fishing? I seem to remember, Bobby, you like to fish. Anybody else? I know I like to fish. When I was a teenager, my cousins and I used to take my uncle's boat out into Onset Harbor, and we would fish for flounder and bring it back in the morning and make breakfast for everyone. Have you ever fished for a long time, maybe even all day, and not caught a single thing? Or maybe stayed on the shore and just kept casting away and still not caught anything? It's so frustrating, isn't it? And so boring. But what does that have to do with our story today? Well, let's find out. The apostles were all very happy to have Jesus raised from the dead. And they saw him a couple of times since the resurrection. And one day, a group of the disciples were on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. And the group included Simon Peter, Thomas, Nathanael, and James and John, the sons of Zebedee. Suddenly, Peter says, "I'm going fishing." And the others said, "Well, we'll come too." So they all got in the boat and they went out and they fished all night long, but they caught nothing. As the sun came up, they saw a man standing on the beach. It was Jesus, but they didn't recognize him. And he yelled out to them, "Did you catch any fish?" They caught nothing. So they yelled back, "No, we caught nothing." And he yelled back at them, "Throw the nets on the right side of the boat. You'll catch some then." Now, what do you think they did? You're right. They threw the nets on the right side of the boat. And guess what? They caught fish, tons of them. So many, they couldn't bring the nets into the boat. Now, John recognized Jesus all of a sudden, and he yells out, "It's the Lord!" When Peter heard that, he jumped into the water and started heading for shore, leaving all the other guys to bring the boat and the fish back to shore. When they got nearer to shore, they saw that Jesus was cooking breakfast. He had the fish over a charcoal fire, and there was some bread. And Jesus said, "Bring some of those fish that you caught." Peter dragged the nets over to where Jesus was, onto the shore. There were 153 large fish in those nets. "Now come and have some breakfast," Jesus says to them. So they had breakfast with Jesus. When breakfast was over, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" Peter looked at him and said, "Well, yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And Jesus said to him, "Well, feed my lambs." A second time, Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Peter said, "Lord, I love you. You know I love you." And Jesus said, "Tend my sheep." Then a third time, Jesus said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was a little hurt. Jesus asked him 3 times, and it reminded him of the 3 times that he denied Jesus before the resurrection, before the crucifixion. So he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." So Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep." Now Jesus forgave Peter, and he told him that Peter would die for Jesus. So Jesus said to Peter, "Follow me." And Peter did. Peter followed Jesus all of his life, even though Jesus would not be with him physically. Now, what do you suppose Jesus meant when he told Peter to feed his sheep? Do you think he meant to go into the pasture and feed the sheep? You guys are so smart. Of course he didn't. He meant to continue Jesus' work. He already told him that he was the rock that he would build his church. So he was to tend the people, to feed the people. To spiritually feed the sheep the way Father Mark feeds us. Right? You guys, you're so smart. I'm so proud of you. Well, today we have 2 crafts I think you're gonna like. Now, I have given the instructions for both of the crafts to your parents in an attachment to an email for this with this video. So the first one is a fun craft that your whole family will like, and it will illustrate our video. So, can you see this? What does it look like? There's a lot of fish on there. I'll take one out. It's fish on a net. Isn't that cute? So you can all learn how to make fish on a net, and you can have breakfast with Jesus, the way you can feed his sheep, so to speak. And then the second one I thought you might like, because it's a Sunday school prayer, and where we can't be together, I thought it would be nice because it reminded me of us. It's a Sunday school prayer, and it says, "Dear God, this church is a family." Well, we're a family. Church is a community. This church is a family. Help us learn together, to worship together, to share together, to play together, to pray together, to come together, to reach out to everyone with love, family love. Amen. I hope you like this craft. It's very easy. It's on a construction paper. You fold it in half. You glue this prayer in the center, and then just attach these 6 different symbols. All the symbols are symbols of St. Peter. I hope you enjoy it. Have a wonderful week. Until we meet again, God bless you, and I miss you all.